Welcome to the show, Jeanette.
Hi, Stephen. My father. I've been taking care of my father, with a lengthy illness. He just passed away on Thursday. And in a nutshell, I have not filed my taxes this year. I'm hoping to get them done after the funeral this week, and I typically owe about $2,000 a year. And my question is, I've never not filed before, so I'm not sure what kind of penalties and interest I'm going to be subject to. Is there a way I can maybe? I was his primary caretaker. Is there a way that I can, negotiate with the IRS as far as maybe showing them a death certificate? I'm kind of nervous. Like, I don't know how much trouble I'm in.
Well,
and at the time, I really didn't care. Now, of course, I care.
Yeah, I understand. And I got to tell you that this happens a lot, that people, something's happened in your life, and then you don't, the last thing you care about is filing your taxes on time.
Does a tax, well, Jeanette, sorry for your loss, obviously.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
horrible.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does a father or mother's tax liability fall on to the daughter?
The answer is no. That's your tax liability. And so even the spouse's tax liability, if you don't file jointly, is not going to be your liability.
Oh, really?
Okay, yeah. It's totally different.
How far back do they go on that?
I don't understand.
The married and not married. So if you knew you had a tax problem or going to have a tax problem, do you then not file jointly if you're married?
Just don't file jointly.
Oh, okay.
You don't
That's
have
a great
to file
tax
jointly.
tip.
Generally, if you file jointly, you're going to get a better tax outcome. You're going to pay less taxes. But if you're trying to save a spouse from being liable for your tax obligations, then you just file separately. Now, in your situation, again, this happens a lot. First off, tax penalties are based on how much you owe. So if you don't owe that much, you're not going to have that much of a penalty. There's two types of penalties. There's a failure to pay penalty and a failure to file penalty. But believe it or not, the IRS does sometimes have a heart. And they have what they call a reasonable cause. So if I can show them, hey, this was going on in my life, and I have a reasonable cause why I didn't file, it's called abatement. They will abate your taxes, your tax penalties. There's also something if I've always filed on time, and I've always paid on time, and I missed this year, sometimes they'll do a one-time abatement. So they'll say, okay, you've always been good, but this time you messed up. We'll forgive any penalties. So I'd say to you, file as soon as you can, but don't worry about the penalties. And if you have a question, call me. Call me at 312-664-6649. Won't cost you anything. I'll help you. And we'll try to abate the penalties. I can guarantee in this case that those penalties would be abated.
And as David Schluter always said, death is still 100% certainty. We're all going to expire eventually, hopefully later than sooner. And in times of death, which is probably the most traumatic situation that any family or person or individual that lost a loved one can face and deal with, you don't think rationally and make rational decisions. And there's a lot of, for lack of a better term, pieces of crap out there that prey on elderly and on people that have expired families that have
but I've had clients
expired loved ones.
For instance, who had cancer, and they were dying.
Right.
But they don't die. Which
is a good thing.
Yeah.
Right?
I didn't care about my taxes. Last thing I cared about was filing my tax return.
Right.
So again, we can abate those. That's a reasonable cause.
Right.
So you have a reason why. Most people who miss their the tax deadline, there's a reason for it.
Okay.
And so if you could show it to the IRS, they'll abate the taxes. And again, I'm sorry for your loss, and thanks for your call. And call me. I'd be happy to help you.
What number?
312-664-6649.